Ladies and gentlemen, sports fans alike, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago, one of the couple, two, three best podcasts around. So sit back, grab yourself a cold one and a Polish sausage, park your keister in the French room, and listen to Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
In Chicago, you know that all sports rock. The Bears, Hawks, Bulls, Cubs, and Sox. Pick your favorite, you can choose, as long as the Packers lose. For everything you need to know, it's Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Bill Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. This is your hosts, Alex and Sean. On this episode, we have so much Bears talk to get to before the season starts, and probably jump into a little bit of baseball tirade here and there. But first, I'd like to thank our sponsor, the Rockford Ice Hogs. If you're not familiar with the Rockford Ice Hogs, they're the AHL minor league affiliate of the Chicago Blackhawks. What does that mean for you? You get to see the stars of tomorrow today at family-friendly, affordable prices. The season is not going on right now, but it'll be going on next month. So make sure you head on over to icehogs.com, get yourself a hat, shirt, jersey, sign up for season tickets and more. Tell them Swerski Sports sent you. Alex, this is a really busy Bears week for being a week with no actual football games being played.
Yeah, it's just one more week until we start the season. We have our roster. We have big news within the organization, and we're anticipating more big news from the organization this week. I mean, this is honestly, when you think about season starts, it's always a big deal when week one comes and the cuts are made and the roster comes together. But when you factor in what's going on this offseason with a big announcement coming from the Bears front office, with this roster, I mean, it's being kind of juggled around. You knew when the cuts were coming, there was going to be some busy action for the Bears on the waiver wire, and there was. And then, we're going to see some renderings this week, all before we kick off against the 49ers a week from today. I mean, there's a lot going on, and it's one of those things where you're like, even if the Bears aren't necessarily going to be very good this year, you just love that feeling of week one, clean slate. Here it comes, having football back. I'm ready for it. I'm ready to get hurt. I'm ready to be disappointed. I'm ready to be mad, even though I'm not anticipating much. That's just the kind of fan I am. I say, I don't care anymore. I'm tired. I don't have any more feelings. And yet I'm going to be there next Sunday, watching the game, getting mad, thinking we're going to go 17-0 the minute they complete a pass, thinking we're going to go 0-17 the minute we screw something up. So, emotions, football, you got to love it, right?
Absolutely. I mean, that's the game. And do you want to start with football-related news or organization-related news?
I think we got to go organization because this is pretty significant. The two things, the news that has come out and the news that will come out, this is pretty significant for the Bears' future.
Yeah, so we will be getting an announcement in the coming days about the Arlington Stadium, and I know we are on different sides of the aisle about a new stadium. You are very pro the Arlington Stadium, and I would love it to be in Chicago still, but we can both agree that the current disaster that is New Soldier Field is not a sustainable stadium to have Chicago Bears football in.
No, and I mean, come on, look at the new stadiums over the past 5 years. Look at Minnesota, look at Los Angeles, look at Las Vegas. Look at those places. I mean, Soldier Field was renovated in 2003, right? It reopened in 2003. They built it in 2002, opened in 2003. Okay, that's 20 years. It still feels like that was built much more long ago. And yes, that the outer shell was obviously built in the 1920s, but what was renovated, the rest of the stadium inside, it feels so much more outdated than that. And it doesn't feel like a stadium that should be hosting an NFL franchise in one of the biggest markets, one of the most historical markets. You go to the concourses of that place. You're like, okay, this would pass as a pretty solid college stadium in terms of amenities and how it looks. But the standard for National Football League stadiums is just, it's in another galaxy than what Soldier Field is. That's just a fact.
Yeah, I mean, I wish they would have completely torn down Soldier Field and put a brand new stadium there. It would have looked awesome on the museum campus, right on the water, surrounded by the planetarium, the aquarium, field museum, and that would have been cool. But no matter what, they need a new stadium. The Bears fans deserve a state-of-the-art stadium. And for the love of all that is good, please have a dome. Most people don't like going to football games and sitting in a seat when it's 20 below zero.
Oh, it's miserable.
It's miserable. It's miserable. How much fun it would be to watch the Bears play wearing just a hoodie. And I'm going to say this again, is you will make more money in concessions and selling merchandise when it's not freezing, because people are more willing to spend money when they're comfortable.
Or if they want to move, because sometimes when you're in the cold, you don't want to move. You're just kind of stuck there. You don't really want to have to get up and then try to reposition yourself again, because it could be uncomfortable. And, I'm going to tell you this. You know what I did yesterday? I was out and about in the burbs yesterday. I know what
you're going to say. I saw the pictures.
I was there. I went by Arlington Park, and I've been there multiple times. My brother's wedding rehearsal dinner was at the old Ditka's that was on that property. And when I was an intern with the Chicago Bandits, RIP, we had several events because we had partnerships with Arlington Racecourse. So we would have like kiosks on some of the big race days. So we'd go and be at those kiosks. So I've been there. I've been there before, but I went back and I drove around the property, like the perimeter. That land is massive, massive. And you know what we're going to get? You've already heard it in the reports. We're getting more than just a stadium. We're talking about a whole complex here. This is modern sports. You need these types of amenities. And this, again, this is not just any other team. This is the charter franchise of the NFL, the ultimate sports power on this planet. You don't have a complex at Soldier Field. You have the museum campus, but I mean, that's the museum campus. We're talking about restaurants, bars, shops, parks, like parks for families to go at. Like basically a mini mall. People can roll their eyes, oh, commercial, blah, blah, blah. And to an extent, I get why some people would be kind of turned off by some of the commercialism of it. But this is just kind of how sports rolls now. And they know they're going to get more revenue by providing more amenities.
And by owning the stadium.
That's the biggest thing, owning the damn stadium, not having the Chicago Park District plant grass, just regular old sod as a turf. You know what all these other stadiums have now? They have either artificial turf or what Lambeau Field has. It's like a hybrid. It's like a hybrid of fake and real. And it's got to be well kept because it's played in that environment. You don't play on sod. Look at the Bears turf. It's consistently the worst. So, that's all important for this new potential stadium that we're going to get.
And it's coming. I mean, I thought at first this was, early on, I was like, I think this is a ploy for as a negotiating tactic with the city. But no,
they want out.
This is coming. And it's weird timing is because Ted Phillips is going to retire at the end of the season. So he might not even be with the organization when they finalize the deal to buy the land.
I'm wondering if he's staying one more year to kind of oversee this process. Like that's the reason he's here.
I mean, it sounds like he's just going to stay and navigate them through the purchase, and then he's done.
And I don't know if you saw the report, but it sounds like they're going through construction companies and looking to see who they're going to hire. That's probably part of the, big part of it.
But I mean, I mean, I guess the timing works out because according to NBC, the earliest they could get out of their deal with the city would be 2026. So, I mean, you figure if they have four years to build the stadium, that would put you to 2022, 2023, 2024, 2025. And then a year to get everything ironed out. So yeah, that would be about right.
Yeah, and I mean that way, it's not, if you get this finalized fairly soon, that gives you, all those years to build this thing. It's not going to be an overnight project. It's going to take a few years to build that stadium, and if you can, break ground as soon as you can, you got to think too, when would that be? Like, if you had to guess when groundbreaking, do you think 24 is reasonable?
I would say
I don't know how quick it's going to happen.
I would say probably 2024. And I mean, like I said, there is still a whole lot to discuss. I mean, they're still the town meeting with Arlington Heights, because I don't know if all the residents are on board with this. And they're going to have to do expansion on the infrastructure for the city, the roads. I mean, it's just, there's a lot of things that have to be done, because it is not suitable for the amount of traffic that's going to have there. Is, people keep saying, well, there's the train station right there, but that train station is coming from the city or from, like Crystal Lake. I mean, the vast majority of fans are going to have to drive to that stadium. That traffic is going to be miserable, and they're going to have to do something to account for the massivly increased amount of traffic.
Not if everyone comes in on Dot Express, right? Big old steam engine powered by George McCaskey. He's got his big conductor hat, his jean overalls, and the big red hanky around his neck.
And Staley the bear is sitting next to him, making the toot toot sound with his arm.
Ed O'Bradovich is the conductor. When I blow the whistle, that means all aboard. But yeah, there's a lot of things that are going to need to be figured out, a lot of the logistics of it, and that is going to take some time. But I mean, this is no longer like exploring, like the idea of it. I mean, from everything we hear, alluding to what you said earlier, they're very serious about this. I mean, if they are out looking for construction companies, it's pretty serious. I mean, they won that bid to buy the land. I mean, they're clearly serious about this. And yeah, I mean, I think it's, things can fall apart, obviously, but I think the intention fully here is to have this team move out and build a stadium in Arlington Heights. Like they're not thinking of it as it's an idea, blah, blah, blah. Like they're intent on making this happen.
It's, it's evident. And if this is the only way for them to get a new state-of-the-art stadium with a dome, then I guess I'll be on board. But it is going to be neat to have a whole complex where you can, hotels and restaurants and different things. But if it does not have a dome, I'm going to punch George McCaskey in his face through the mail. I'm going to mail him a letter with my fist in it. He's just going to open it up and my fist is just going to pop out. It's going to be a flat, normal envelope and it's going to pop out and my fist is just going to pop out. And he's going to be like, what?
It's like a Three Stooges bit right there. I agree, though. Give me a retractable roof or a dome. I mean, you need to have something at this point where when the weather's bad, you can cover things up. Because look, if you have a retractable roof and you're going to be playing like you're going to be playing next week against the 49ers when the weather is still good and you have a nice fall day, hell yeah, keep that roof open. But, when you get into November and December, you're going to want that closed. And if you want to host a Super Bowl, you're going to need to have a retractable roof. Like, that's not an option. Like, you need to have that if you want to host the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You want the Super Bowl. You want that Super Bowl.
and NCAA tournaments too.
And, my question is, how many seats do you think they will put in this?
I would like to see at least 75.
I've been tossing around this number, and so if you look at the capacities, Soldier Field is by several thousand the smallest stadium in the NFL,
which is unbelievable.
And the largest is the Giants and Jets, the MetLife Stadium, at 82,000.
It's bigger capacity than Jerry World, really?
Yep. Jerry is 80. Jerry is at 80. Giants and Jets at 82.5.
Wow. I didn't know that.
So the only stadiums that are over 75 would be Denver, the Chiefs, Washington, Dallas, Green Bay, and the Jets Giants. I think it's going to be somewhere between 75 and 80, and I would not be surprised if it is closer to 80.
Yeah, I mean, let's say you go 78. I think that's perfectly reasonable. I don't think you could go any less than 75. I don't think they're going to go any more than 80. You could, but I just don't think they will.
I don't think they will, but I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I really wouldn't. So what would be super petty, and I'm here for it, is the second biggest stadium is Lambeau Field at 81,441.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
If they made it 81,442, I would be grandstanding.
Oh, that would be funny. That would be absolutely hilarious.
I would tear up that letter that I would be sending to George.
Give it a thumbs up instead of a punch. Question. How do you want the stadium designed? Do you want it more symmetrical, or do you kind of want it in different tiers?
I kind of like Lucas Oil Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of cool. I don't really like Levi Stadium. I think that kind of dumb.
No, they kind of botched that one.
I mean, the facility and everything I'm hearing is great, and everything they did is very similar to what sounds like the Bears are planning to do, but I just don't like the look of the new stadium.
I agree.
SoFi is pretty cool.
SoFi is awesome.
So
I like Minnesota. That's the stadium I like.
But I love SoFi. I drove by the Minneapolis or the Viking Stadium before the new one when they were just finishing it up, and it was weird. It didn't look that cool driving by, but the aerial view looks cool.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the week ago, I drove by the Lions Stadium, and that looks so atrociously ugly, just like their team and their fans.
Wow. Wow, that was a shot.
That was, and I'm here for that shot because the Lions fans are the worst.
Wow.
But I don't know. I kind of like Lucas Oil Stadium. Like, the outside is a little meh, but the way it looks on the inside is pretty darn cool.
Yeah,
So,
the inside looks great at Lucas Oil, and look at all the NCAA stuff they do there.
yeah. And I think, though, I mean, with the way this organization is, I think we're going to see something that looks a little more traditional. I mean, SoFi Stadium is awesome looking, but that just doesn't say Chicago Bears to me.
No.
It's I just I don't know. I think they're going to get something a little more traditional.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
Like Lambeau. I F the Packers, but Lambeau looks like a cool stadium.
I've been there. I don't think the seats are particularly comfortable, but everything else about it, the way they renovated it, that was a stadium renovated right. Because I've seen the pictures of pre-renovated outside Lambeau Field. That was as outdated and ugly as you could get. But boy, they did an amazing job renovating that stadium. And I went there. I'm like, I hate how cool this is.
Inside the stadium, meh, they could do way better. But the way it looks like on the outside, I would not be shocked if a new Bears stadium looks fairly similar to that.
So you would go with the brown brick kind of approach instead of the stone steel kind of approach.
I mean, that's not what I would go, but I think that's what the Bears will go. I think this is a very traditional team. They're going to want something. They're going to want state of the art, but I think the aesthetic of it is going to be very classic, and not overly flashy.
George McCaskey's going to hire some goons and they're just going to tear down the columns and steal them and take them to the new stadium.
Yeah. Like I could see like a Lambeau or a Notre Dame stadium, something like that, where they might do all kinds of cool stuff on the inside, but I think it's going to be pretty traditional on the outside, which I'm fine with. As long as it looks nice and it's made to last for a long time, being aesthetically pleasing. And I hope that the way they design it allows for there to be upgrades in the future without massive overhaul.
Yeah, no, I hear that. And I also think too that part of this whole plan, you're going to need the money, obviously. And, funding is going to be a big battle for this. I mean, they're worth so much money, the Bears are, but, it's going to cost a lot of money to build this new stadium. And, I don't know if this is a scenario where you're going to see them spend like you saw in Los Angeles for SoFi. Like, I don't think it's going to be quite that scale.
I mean, they're going to have to spend a good amount of money because you can't build a stadium inexpensively. Just can't.
No,
happen.
And you can't do it all publicly funded.
And I don't know where they're going to get any public funding. Is Arlington Heights said they're not giving them a cent. The state's saying no. I don't know who is going to publicly fund this. I'm curious is like I said, not to be negative or dark. Virginia's not going to be with us much longer. Do they sell a portion of the team to help fund it?
Maybe, maybe you sell a portion of the team, you build this thing, you build more value, and then you sell the rest of it.
I mean, that might be the way to go, is if you have some of the people that are going to inherit the team, and you say, listen, we'll sell a portion of the team. Like if you sell another, say 15% of the team, and you, use part of it to fund the new stadium, and then part of it to fund buying out people out of their shares.
Yeah, could be. That or George McCaskey sells ice cream on the corner.
he's got the Ricketts family on the horn. He's like, can we sell stuff on Gallagher Way?
Ice cream, good ice cream. He just got a little cart and he's ringing the bell.
Yeah, I mean, if the team's worth approximately $6 billion, selling like 15% of that is what, $900 million.
Yeah, it's just little pocket change here or there.
I mean, that between that and the money that the NFL will probably front, and
that's part of it too.
And I'm sure that they're going to get gambling money. So I'm sure there'll be a gambling house there.
Oh,
a sports book,
a big sports book there. Yeah,
I'm sure that will be big money. That
Tom Ricketts can give you advice on that.
And but if they did that, sold like 10-15% of the stadium, got the money from the NFL, got the money from the sports book, that pays for it there. And that's a real possibility.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, the Sweaty Teddy stepping down, not surprising. We heard rumblings a year ago that he might be stepping down. And the new general manager no longer reports to him. They report directly to George. So it's almost setting himself up to leave. But it's funny whenever, you have somebody that's with an organization that long and you start talking about their legacy and you're like, oh, I forgot all these good things he did. Boy, that man has a dog shit legacy with the Chicago Bears.
Yeah. I mean, the results are what we look at on the field.
I mean,
the tenure,
like how few playoff appearances they had. And then you cap it off with, he led the renovation of Soldier Field.
Right. Listen, he did a very good job at building the team's value. And I'm sure the McCaskies are very, very grateful for that. Sounded like he's a pretty nice guy. None of this is personal, obviously, but look, he's been CEO since 1999?
Something like that.
3 playoff wins in just over 2 decades. That just ain't going to cut it. And how many playoff appearances? Like 6 or 7? You had 01, 05, 06, 2010, 2018, 2020. 6 playoff appearances, 3 wins over 20 plus years.
It's bad. And then, like I said, you cap it off with, he was the one that led the renovation of Soldier Field, which was bad from the get-go.
Yeah,
I mean,
mistake by the lake, or I know what this is, they call Cleveland, but they called that then too.
I mean, as soon as we all saw pictures of it, everyone went, what the hell is that? And they just were like, now this is what we're going with. This is it. And they built it, and it was ugly. The
spaceship landed.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my first Bears memory as a kid was honestly Soldier Field getting torn down and rebuilt. That's my first actual memory of the Bears, was that Soldier Field renovation, strangely enough.
What was that?
When I was a kid, my first Bears memory was the renovation of Soldier Field.
That's a terrible memory.
I know. The fact that you had to do a double take there. Yeah.
Mine was probably the Bears winning the Super Bowl.
Well, look at you.
Oh,
look at me. My first memory was winning the Super Bowl. What'd you have? Oh, landing a spaceship in Soldier Field. Look at you.
that voice.
My name's Sean. Oh, look at me. I drink Kool-Aid. Yeah.
Actually, right now I am drinking Capri Sun Pacific Cooler.
Oh, that is a classic. That reminds me of my school days. I mean, all the lunches I brought all the years. I think the number one drink that would always be provided in by my mom making my lunches was those Capri Suns.
Yeah, we bought a bunch of Capri Sun and then Kool-Aid Jammers, which are like the Kool-Aid version of the.
Yes.
And she bought a bunch of those for like the kids for the block party. And we have a ton left. And I don't think my daughter really drinks them. So I'm like, well, I don't want to throw them away. So I've been drinking a ton of. So I finished off a cherry Kool-Aid Jammer and
Oh
a
my
Pacific
God,
Cooler
yes.
Capri Sun. And they're just my empties sitting here waiting to be thrown away.
You have just named like my two favorite juice boxes. If you had one of those high C orange or high C fruit punch, you would have completed the trifecta.
What if I would have thrown an Ecto Cooler in there?
An Ecto Cooler?
You don't know Ecto Cooler?
No, maybe I
Oh.
do, and I just didn't know what they
Oh
were
my.
called. Let me look it up. Hold
Oh
on.
my goodness. Ecto
Hold
Cooler
on.
is the best.
Hold on. Hold
It-
the phone.
It is the Ghostbusters high C drink.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. It's high C. Okay.
I remember when I was a kid, it came in a can.
Yeah,
In a,
I see a picture right here.
not in it not like a can of pop. It came in like a big round canister, like a half gallon or whatever, that you had to use the thing to like poke a hole in it with the the old style beer openers where you pop the hole in it with the two sides so you could pour it out of the can.
Yeah, and I'm seeing a picture of that type of can. It's like what? It looks like. I don't know if I'd like drinking out of that.
That's how stuff came back in the day.
When I saw them win the Super Bowl, I used to drink Ecto Cooler. It was the best drink ever, and the 85 Bears are the best team ever. But, I sat there with freaking Soldier Field renovation.
And Gatorade used to come in a glass bottle.
And I have no recollection of glass bottle Gatorade. I've never in my life drinking glass bottle Gatorade. When did that change? The 90s, mid 90s, early 90s?
To be honest with you, I don't know. There was just like one day it was drinking out of plastic, and I was just like, it was like a time warp because I didn't question it. And I was like, wait a minute, this used to be glass bottles. When the hell did the glass bottle go away?
I can't like picture myself or picture a sensation of drinking Gatorade out of a glass bottle. Like that just it doesn't compute with me. When I think of drinking like a drink like that out of a glass bottle, I think of like Snapple. Because Snapple is, I believe, still a glass bottle. I haven't had Snapple in a while, but I used to drink Snapple, when I was a kid, and that was the glass bottle. I'm like, okay, I remember drinking Snapple out of that, but the idea of drinking Gatorade out of that, I mean, think about it. A lot of times you're drinking Gatorade because you're doing something physical. You're either playing a sport or you're running, whatever. Why the hell would you want to be chugging out of something as dangerous out of a glass bottle? Doesn't the plastic make more sense?
So it appears 1989 is when they moved to plastic.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the late 80s. Because is that when the Be Like Mike commercial came out, or is that a little later? Because I thought he drank out of the glass bottle in the first commercial, but I could be wrong.
He may have started, the glass bottle started in 67, just before my time. But yeah, it was glass bottles when I was a kid. And that would make sense, 89, because I was like, would I have been drinking Gatorade at that point very much? I don't know. I was a big fan of it when I was a little kid.
I was too busy thinking about the Super Bowl that I saw.
Oh, the evolution of Gatorade containers.
But, this is all really making me thirsty. I got to tell you, like, when you're mentioning High C and Gatorade and Capri Sun and Kool-Aid Jammers. God bless Kool-Aid Jammers. I love those as a kid. Either the grape or the cherry is what we would buy. Do they still have the transparent back to them or no?
No, it literally looks just like a Capri Sun.
Okay.
And I have cherry and grape in my refrigerator right now.
I might have to come over.
Uh,
Or I could just, buy some myself, but that costs money.
but sorry, backtracking here. The other stadium that looks super cool that they could model after, University of Michigan Stadium, the big house. That looks cool.
It does.
And I think that is going to be the much more of the aesthetic that the Bears would go for, something more traditional and not look like a spaceship crash landed on a retirement home. It is. I think it's something that's going to be awesome yet timeless.
Maybe it'll be sponsored by Ecto Cooler Stadium.
George S. Hallis, Ecto Cooler presents the George S. Hallis Stadium.
Oh God, it's gonna be the ghost, but it's gonna be George Hallis with his tongue sticking out with a big blob body, and he's got his fedora on and his glasses.
I want to say something, but it's gonna be real dark. It's Virginia's the ghost.
Oh man.
Sorry, I have to backtrack on that one. Sorry, universe, that was terrible. Long live Virginia.
Let me cover this up. You're gonna have the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man sponsoring the freaking concession stands, and the only drinks available. There's no soda, there's no beer, there's no water. It's literally just Ecto Cooler.
You could just choose one of 4 glasses that you can drink it out of.
Yes, you could get the juice box, you could get the can, you can get the glass, you could get the bottle, and then they'll have Ecto Cooler on tap.
Speaking of Bears, I'm going to forget this otherwise. I read an awesome prank from Kyle Orton's rookie season. Olin Kreutz apparently walked up to Kyle Orton during training camp and said, "Hey, would you mind signing a helmet for my family?" And Kyle Orton got all excited. He's like, "Absolutely, no problem." And he signed this Bears helmet. It turned out Olin Kreutz grabbed Kyle Orton's helmet out of his locker and had him autograph it and then put it back.
Oh my goodness.
So Kyle Orton had to go through training camp with a helmet with his own autograph and silver marker on it. That's amazing. We should probably get to the on-field Bear stuff here.
Yeah, we should. I got the depth chart popped up here, and we're
Did
ready for week 1.
Yeah, so the 53-man roster came out, and there wasn't a ton of surprise. There's a few surprises on there, but nothing terribly surprising. And we're like, okay, sure, once the waiver wires, the Bears will be picking up a few players. But they picked up six waiver wire claims, which is a lot of guys. And so clearly Ryan Poles saw the players available and said, we can make an upgrade over what we have here. And I don't know if you listened to the Hogan Johns podcast, but from last week, but I don't normally listen to that podcast, but they had Ryan Poles on, and he was talking about the process after the waiver claims. And he said everyone was there until the wee hours just watching tape. And he said that they took the scouts and they put them, several scouts on for each team. And they mocked what they thought would be the 53-man roster and who would be cut. And they watched a lot of film on anybody they thought had a possibility of being cut. And so when the cuts came, they sat down together and were like, okay, let's all watch film. And they made decisions on guys that were cut. And I think they got some solid players.
Well, you heard about the way they were evaluating all these people. And I did hear that Ryan Poles interview, which I thought was pretty cool to listen to. But yeah, I mean, they're in a position where, there's so much fluidity to this roster. So little of this is set in stone for the long term because you don't know a lot of what you have. So you got to look at every angle here in order to fill spots, whether it's, higher up on the depth chart or just lower depth. I mean, the Bears' depth is one of the biggest concerns going into this season. And I mean, it's no surprise with the position they're in. So you got to look for value any way you can get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is the beauty of having low expectations and a rebuilding roster is you can take chances on guys, give them the opportunity and not have to ruin playoff chances. There's a lot of teams out there that they're like, hey, listen, we're competing right now. We can't take time to allow a young player to develop or carry a guy on the roster that, might not be contributor this year, might be contributor next year. Like they can't do that. They can't afford to do that. Bears have that luxury and they're taking full advantage of it. And that's awesome. And if some of these guys don't pan out, okay, who cares? Ryan Poles will move on. It is they're giving guys an opportunity.
Right. I mean, this is where you could find some diamonds in the rough, and it's not a big deal if they don't work out. With football, you can find diamonds in the rough pretty much anywhere for most positions.
Yeah. I mean, so the biggest name that they took in the waiver wire was Alex Leatherwood from the Raiders. And a lot of people are like, oh man, I can't believe the Bears picked up that big salary. It's $5.9 million. Asterisk. It is $5 million over 3 seasons.
Right. AAV is a drop in the bucket.
It is $2 million a year. They could move on from that if they decide he's not good. But here's the thing. He is 1 year removed from being a first round draft pick. And he is absolutely massive. He's strong as all get out. He was, I think he won the Outland Trophy in college. He was he was one of the top offensive linemen and coming out of college. And he didn't come from a podunk school. He came from the University of Alabama, the best college program of the last 2 decades. Like he has the pedigree and the measurables to be a good offensive lineman. Things did not work out in Las Vegas, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to work out ever. So if you take a chance on him, all right, if it doesn't work out, it costs you a couple $1 million. Meh. Like you said, drop in the bucket. But if this works out and he turns into a guy that, and what I think is going to happen is he is going to replace Cody Whitehair next year.
Yeah, I mean, think about it. If you find this guy and you're able to work him into your system and improve, then Ryan Poles is going to look like a genius because there was a lot of groaning when he came in. And it's like, look, you said, what, 1 year since he was a first round pick?
Yep.
I know things didn't go well with the Raiders, and they might not go well with the Bears, but now's the time to try it. See what you got. If he ends up working out, that would be such a win for the Bears. Finding a lineman like that working out.
Yeah. Not working out for the Raiders sets them back because he was a first round pick and he was a fairly high one at the number 17 overall. For the Bears, it is not a big investment. They're not losing a draft pick on this. They are $2 million each year for the next 3 years. So for this first year, they still have like $17 million under the cap. Next year, they could, with just trimming some fat, they could be up at like $125 million in cap space. That's with his $2 million. They can just eat that money without even batting an eye. This is a no-brainer. And I'm not saying it's going to work out, I'm just saying it's a no-brainer to pick that money up or to pick that contract up and run with it.
And you hope that, with Ryan Poles, his philosophy, his coaches, very high on beating you in the trenches, that they're able to make this work. They're very passionate about trying to make the offensive line work and beating you in the trenches. And even though you don't have a lot on paper right now, you hope that for not only him, not only Leatherwood, but this whole offensive line, that coaching and scheming is able to make this function better than we thought.
Yeah. So I'm excited. This was a no-brainer pickup, and kudos to the Bears for taking the opportunity. And I hope it works out because for him, for Alex Leatherwood, and for the Bears.
Yeah, absolutely.
Another one they picked up I thought was a great pickup is Armand Watts, who is a defensive lineman for the Vikings, and he played in every single game the Vikings last season, and he had 3 tackles for loss, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and he's absolutely built for a 4-3, but the Vikings switched to a 3-4, and he was penciled in as a starter, and they cut him, and he just didn't feel he fit the 3-4 system. The Bears are playing a 4-3. This is a good pickup.
It's a very good pickup.
So he's a player that's just coming into his prime, and he had a good season last year. I think this could be a huge upgrade for the Bears. Kairos Tonga was a guy that he's pretty much taking the spot of. And Tonga, I liked Tonga last year, but he's a guy that in a similar situation, I don't know how well he's going to fit in this new defensive line scheme. Whereas Armand Watts, I think, is going to fit in perfectly.
Well, played in a 4-3 defense or going to a 4-3 defense. So, obviously scheme-wise, I think it makes sense. That right there could be the biggest waiver wire pickup on this team. And, I've said it before, if the Bears want to win some games, then they're going to need some decent play out of their defensive line, because you want to be able to stop the opponent's run, because if the opponent is running on you, not only are they picking up chunks of yards, but they're controlling the clock against you. And obviously, that's something that you would want to see them be better at. They were really good at stopping the run for a long time with Akeem Hicks. So now that he's no longer here, you worry, are you going to be able to do that or not? And you didn't, the Larry Ogunjobi signing didn't pan out, which would have been a big addition. So, you look for guys like this to hopefully step up and help out with that.
The next one is they brought in Amir Smith-Marset, wide receiver, was cut by the Vikings. The Vikings cut him out of, they're pretty set at wide receiver. So you feel like if you take a guy that was cut from a team, it's a position of strength, then it's a good spot for you. And he's didn't put up great numbers or anything with the Vikings, but he's very young, and he runs a 4.40. So it's, given the injuries, Tajay Sharp out for the season.
Yeah, that's tough for him.
And Nikhil Harry out for at least the first 4 games. I don't think this is a bad pickup here. You can't teach speed. And I went back and watched film of him in college, and he looked pretty darn good. So I'm hoping that they can find a way to utilize him. If nothing else, he's a special team guy.
Yeah, and you can never have enough of those. Right now you're looking like your wide receivers, your top guys are Darnell Mooney, Byron Pringle, Velus Jones Jr., and then you'll have Pettis, Equanimous St. Brown, and Smith-Marset. Those are going to be the guys we're going to be looking at right now, and Dante Pettis. So those are your guys you're going to look at having right now as we go into the season. So No, it's not an overly impressive wide receiver core. I think Darnell Mooney is very good. You hope that Byron Pringle and Velus Jones, they're able to use their speed. Velus Jones, there's promise there. There really is. I think he could become something. And, if Byron Pringle's skill set is able to be utilized, then, it still won't be the best, but you can at least make something out of it.
Right. The next guy they picked up off the waiver wires was Kingsley Jonathan, defensive end that they got from Buffalo. And I don't know a lot about him, but I can see how he didn't make. I'm a little bit surprised he lasted as long as he did with that Buffalo defense, because he's an edge rusher, and they've got Von Miller, Shaq Lawson, and several recent second round picks at edge rusher. It's just the numbers game. They must see something good for him. But coming out of college, he had 15 sacks and 21 and a half tackles for loss at Syracuse. So I don't know a lot about him, and I can't project anything, but they must have seen something that they liked in him.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's listed third on the chart at that position. So you have Muhammad and Gibson ahead of him. So at most you hope that he's just okay depth.
Next guy is I'm a little bit excited about, and we have already heard the defensive coordinator talking about him very highly. Linebacker Sterling Weatherford, and he was a safety that they converted to linebacker that you could sub in the nickel package as a sub linebacker. And he's fast. He's a 4.5 40 guy. He can play man or zone coverage, great tackler, and he's probably going to be a developmental guy. But he came from the Colts, and the GM of the Colts came out and specifically said he was pissed because his goal was to put him on the practice squad, and he was excited about him. And the Bears took that opportunity, and they're going to run with it. And they seem to like him a lot.
And he's listed right now, at least on this depth chart, is starting on the front seven.
I wouldn't be shocked.
So he'll be playing with Roquan and Morrow.
Yeah. I mean, they don't play a ton of that Sam linebacker. Only like 10-15% of their snaps, but I wouldn't be shocked for him to be out there for those.
Right.
Another guy they picked up is tight end Trevon Wesco. And this one I think was a little bit of a shock, because I thought James O'Shaughnessy was a lock to make this team.
So did I.
But apparently there was some sort of non-football illness release from him. So he's another guy who's not just a true tight end. He's a tight end fullback hybrid. He's a good run blocker. He's a special teams guy. And, I think that's where you're going to see him a lot is special teams. And okay, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, right now he's listed as the third tight end, and you have three tight ends officially listed on the roster. Obviously you have two fullbacks too, but three tight ends. Okay. And you're going to be running two tight end sets. I just hope nobody gets hurt.
I'm going to put asterisk there, because we'll go to that in a second. I'm going to put asterisk there on the three tight ends.
I know what you're going to say. So yes. Anyway, Continue.
The last waiver pickup was Josh Blackwell. Who's a slot corner. And they felt that he was going to be a better contributor than Duke Shelley. And so they picked him up.
And Duke Shelley's gone.
Yeah. So they replaced Duke Shelley. So most of those guys I'm pretty okay with. I think they're going to be a better fits. I'm still the position I'm most worried about on this roster is cornerback.
I mean, your starting corners on paper are very, very good, but the depth is questionable. And I worry about Jalen Johnson's health. He's had injuries in the past, both in college and with the Bears.
Kyler Gordon's health as well.
That too.
I mean, if both those guys go down at the same time, whew,
that's a drop off.
That is a big drop off.
I at least feel better about safety, especially when Jaquan Brisker gets fully healthy, because you got Brisker and you got DeAndre Houston-Carson behind him. And then, Eddie Jackson. Somebody said this on the radio, and I thought it was a solid opinion. I want to hear your opinion on it. If Eddie Jackson gives us a 2018 Adrian Amos type performance, would you be okay with that?
Yes.
I would too.
I think we're going to get the best Eddie Jackson we've seen since 2018. I think it's the best Eddie Jackson we're going to get is this year.
Well, I think he's in a position to be much better. And, based on what he said, and it might be cliche, it might just all be talk and whatnot, but, he mentioned how, motivation and, focus and everything seems like it's a lot stronger now than it was last year. Because, there were times last year where he flat out couldn't tackle. And you remember that Rams game in week 1. You remember how much separation they got against him.
If anybody on this team is going to gain value from the hits principle, it's Eddie Jackson. I guarantee you that Alabama has something comparable to the hits program, that if you loaf, you don't play, because Alabama has a 5-star guy behind you breathing down your neck, ready to play. If you loaf, you don't make tackles, you don't make plays, you don't play. And Eddie Jackson played tough. And he came under Vic Fangio and Ed Donatel, and he played that same way. And as soon as those guys left, he didn't play the same way. And he's buying into this hits principle. Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing. And I think we're going to see a much better Eddie Jackson. And I don't think you're going to see peak Eddie Jackson, but I think you're going to see as close as possible to peak Eddie Jackson as he is able to be.
Heck, rookie year Eddie Jackson was pretty good. Give me something like that. We're never going to see 2018 Eddie Jackson again. We're not. No,
but you will see something. You'll see something that I think that resembles 2018 Eddie Jackson.
Hey, idiot, tackle, son. That's what HIT stands for.
So we should run through that roster. So do you want to go through quarterbacks first?
Yeah. Let's just start from the top.
All right. So quarterback number 1, Justin Fields. Obviously, that's about as simple as
they
it
should
gets.
Start that Simeon guy.
They should start that. Yeah, that Trevor Simeons. He's a superstar. Justin Fields is a bum. Honestly, if I ever hear somebody else, another person say, Justin Fields sucks because when have you ever seen a good Ohio State quarterback? And I'm just going to be like, yep, that's why I can't buy into Patrick Mahomes, because when have you ever seen a good Texas Tech quarterback? I'm writing that guy off.
Exactly.
Takes one guy. That's it. But you got 2 quarterbacks on this roster, and nothing is surprising there.
No, you knew that Simeon was going to win the second spot over Nathan Peterman. You knew that.
Oh, absolutely. And, not surprising that Peterman is on the practice squad.
Which is fine. Perfectly fine.
Yeah, because you need a quarterback that knows your system on the practice squad. in case, if God forbid, Justin Fields gets hurt, Trevor Siemian steps up, you need a backup. But yeah, you have to have a backup quarterback, third string quarterback that knows the system, that can step in and be the backup if Justin Fields were to get hurt. So Nathan Peterman on the practice squad, who cares? Just somebody. I wouldn't have been surprised if they would have gotten somebody cut by the Packers that's familiar with Getsy, but Peterman's fine. Running back, I was a little surprised. They only kept 3. David Montgomery, Khalil Herbert, Treston Ebner, Darrington Evans got cut and put on the practice squad. So a little bit surprised there.
Now you just hope that all those backs stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess,
you do have reassurance on the practice squad, but still.
Yeah. I was a little bit surprised there. Kept 2 fullbacks, Kari Blassingame and Jake Tonjes. And here's where I say Jake Tonjes is going to play tight end.
Tight end. Yep. I knew exactly what you were going to say.
Yeah, they're going to play some sort of hybrid, and that's kind of what we've seen more in the NFL. I mean, you had some true tight ends, but you get some fullback / tight end hybrid kind of guys.
Fullbacks are people too. Dang it.
Yeah. So Jake Tonjes is going to get reps both places, and that's just kind of the way it's going to go. Tight ends, Cole Kmet, Ryan Griffin, and then Trevon Wesco. So not surprising. I mean, the fact that James O'Shaughnessy, I still wonder what happened to him. Is one thing I'm going to say is some of the injury designations that the Bears did were a little weird this year.
Mm-hmm.
James O'Shaughnessy, poof, like he's done, injury designation. Tajay Sharp, they keep him on the roster and on the 53 man, but then they put him on injured reserve, ending his season.
Didn't they say rib injury with him?
Rib injury, yeah, that's weird. Like, why would you put him on the 53 man roster just to turn around and cut him, or to put him on injury reserve? If they would have waited like 2 more hours, they could have designated him to come back. They didn't, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then they didn't put Nikhil Harry on the injured reserve as soon as they could have. They waited a bit. So the whole Bears Twitterverse was like, oh man, I guess Nikhil Harry must be farther along than we thought, because they didn't put him on the injured reserve designated to return, but then they did it many hours later. So it's a little weird. And they had the cornerback that they didn't tell him they put him on injured reserve. So he went to Twitter and was like, what are you talking about, injured reserve? Ain't nobody on injured reserve. And somebody posted the image of the Bears official press announcement that he was on the injured reserve and done for the season.
Too many people are too many athletes are finding out important news from Twitter and not from their actual employers.
Yeah,
kind of weird.
That I was not a fan of that. And Ryan Poles said it was regarding another situation, but said that his communication could improve. And I'm going to chalk this up to him being a first-year general manager of some of these things.
At least he acknowledged it.
But he was basically talking about his communication with Tevin Jenkins, but I think he can probably extrapolate that to multiple situations.
Okay,
be a better communicator. Let guys know if they're going to be put on injured reserve, because that finishes his season. If he thinks he's healthy, then cut him and let him deal with the medical staff of another team and try to figure that out. But it was an awkward situation. I saw it pop up on Twitter because I follow the player, and I'm like, wait a minute. There was a lot of confusion here. And I think there was a lot of confusion on a lot of parts where people are like, oh, he's on injured reserve, he'll return in 5 weeks. I was like, no. They put him on injured reserve before they were allowed to do that. He's done for the season. He can't return. And that was the issue. He can't return. He's done for the season, which is, I don't know how injured he is, but that sucks.
Yeah, it does.
Wide receiver. We've got 6 wide receivers, which is what I expected. A little bit different, names than I thought, but pretty close. So we've got Darnell Mooney, Byron Pringle, Velus Jones Jr., Equanimous St. Brown, and was what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, those are pretty much gimmies.
And then Dante Pettis, he was my dark horse. I expected him to go, and then Amir Smith Marset, who is was a guy they picked up off waivers. And then offensive line, you've got 9. Braxton Jones, Cody Whitehair, Lucas Patrick, Tevin Jenkins, Larry Borum are your starters. And then Riley Reef, Sam Mustafer, Tyre Carter, and Alex Leatherwood.
Not trading Tevin Jenkins.
Nope.
So many rumors surrounding that.
Mm-hmm. The Cat Man failed miserably on that one.
Yeah, I mean, it never made sense.
No.
To go all the way to the top of the depth chart and be like, oh, we're going to trade you. It just didn't make sense to me. Yeah,
just out of the blue that he fell out of favor. I don't think that was ever the case. I mean, that was like, you don't trade up for him and then just cast him off. It just doesn't make sense. And the way those reports were coming out, you were essentially making it so nobody was going to give you any value in trade. It just, none of it made sense. Yeah, none of it made sense. And if you watched the player perform and you listened to what the coaching staff was saying all along, they were saying they wanted the 5 best offensive linemen on the field at the same time. Tevin Jenkins is easily one of the 5 best offensive linemen they have on this team, period. So if you were going to cut him because he was immature, then that speaks a lot about the coaching staff in the front office that you can't rein that in. I think David Kaplan was blowing smoke out of his ass. And it's funny is so many people like tweeted at me like, yeah, David Kaplan is way more tied in than you. Well, guess what? I was right in this situation. I called bullshit. It was bullshit. It doesn't take an insider to know bullshit when you see it.
It was a nice big pile right in front of you.
It was. I mean, the steam was coming off it and everything. The flies hadn't even come.
Oh, jeez. I knew when I said that you were going to take it to the next level.
It was a fresh steaming pile like buttercup leaves.
It makes me think of Jurassic Park. That is one big pile of shit.
What's funny? My daughter got a Lego set of Jurassic Park, and I kid you not, it came with a dinosaur poop.
Dino droppings?
Yes, it looks like the poop emoji. And I was like, there's no way that this is dinosaur poop. And yep, there it is. It's dinosaur poop.
Oh, great. Authentic.
But that's the offense. Defense, you've kept 4 defensive linemen: Justin Jones, Angelo Blackson, Mike Pennell Jr., and Armand Watts. You kept 5 pass rushers: Robert Quinn, Travis Gibson, El Kadeem Muhammad, Dominique Robinson, and Kingsley Jonathan. You kept 5 linebackers: Roquan Smith, Nicholas Morrow, Matthew Adams, Jack Sanborn, Sterling Weatherford. You kept 6 cornerbacks: Jalen Johnson, Jalen Jones, Kyler Gordon, Kendall Vildor, Lamar Jackson, and Josh Blackwell. And 5 safeties: Eddie Jackson, Jaquan Brisker, DeAndre Houston Carson, Dane Cruikshank and Elijah Hicks. As then your three specialists, Cairo Santos, Gill, and Scales. And that is your 53-man roster for the Chicago Bears for week 1 of the NFL season.
Yep, as we head into their first game against the San Francisco 49ers.
You know, I have a lot of thoughts about this game.
Mm-hmm.
On paper, the 49ers are a better team than the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
But they're ripe for getting picked off, I think. You know, they've got a talented defense. They've got some playmakers on offense. But honestly, they're riding essentially a rookie quarterback. And that's not a knock on him. It's first-time quarterbacks make mistakes, and he's going to have to play very well to beat the Bears, I think. And I think Justin Fields is going to make some plays, and I just expect the 49ers offense is going to have to respond. And I think the position they'll want to be in with their young quarterback is get the lead and be able to rely on that strong running game. If the Bears are able to jump out early, it takes a little bit of that away of relying on their running game and forcing them to go to the passing game, which is where they don't want to be. They don't want to be passing to get a lead back.
Right. And I think that it's really important for the Bears to get out in front early, because if the 49ers establish a run and you're behind early, it's going to make it harder and harder to come back. That's what I'm worried about the most, is just getting beat by the run game of the San Francisco 49ers, because that's a dang good run game. Like they know how to run the ball, and they've done it so consistently well with so many different names, but they scheme right. The offensive line is good. They block properly. They know how to execute the run game. That is going to be the biggest challenge, I think, for the Bears. They are going to try to pound it down their throats. And look, the Bears, they are going to have to sustain some offense, because if they don't, then those defenders are going to get tired pretty quick, especially if they keep having to try to stop the run.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the keys are going to be for the Bears is winning the field position battle with special teams, is get some kick returns, get some punt returns, and flip the field. And
getting a turnover would be big too.
I think so. But yeah, if you can slow down their run game and get it offensive scores and make them get a little uncomfortable with the runs pass split and have to pass more than they'd wanted to, you're increasing your odds of winning. And this is not a knock on Trey Lance. It is just the first time you see game action like that. Your odds of making a mistake go pretty high. And we've seen some of the good things he can do. He throws a nice deep ball, but I think your chances of winning are much better when he's throwing a lot of passes, rather than if they can keep him under 20 passes and run the ball effectively.
Yep, agreed.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to be drinking the Kool-Aid. I think the Bears win this one 27-24.
I think if all goes well, I'm going to go Bears 20, 49ers 17. If all goes well. Because I could see them winning this game. I could also see them losing this game. To me, it feels kind of 50-50 in my opinion. I feel decent about this matchup. I don't feel like, oh yeah, this is a slam dunk, we're going to win, but I definitely see the paths to victory here.
Yeah, I that's where I am. I'm trying to be optimistic. And after that third preseason game where I saw that offense clicking, it gave me the confidence to pick the Bears in earlier when we were doing our season predictions. I was like, no, I don't think they win that game. I don't think there's going to a blowout, but I don't think they win that game. And I kind of flipped the script a little bit.
Clink, clink, clink.
And honestly, I could be way wrong on this, and I have no insight whatsoever into the locker room. Is having Jimmy Garoppolo on the roster doesn't do anything good for Trey Lance. It's got to make him feel like his leash is short, and if he makes a mistake, he's going to get benched for Jimmy Garoppolo.
Oh, there's all sorts of pressure on Trey Lance. I mean, Trey Lance, he was taken higher than several quarterbacks, including Justin Fields. He is kind of what you would call the ultimate project of that draft, and that was very repeatedly stated by experts during and after the draft.
And the draft capital they gave up to get him.
It's a lot. They went out to get this guy. I mean, you think about what the Bears did with Mitchell Trubisky. Look what the 49ers did with Trey Lance.
Yeah, they gave up way more. They gave up way more than the Bears did to move up to get Justin Fields. Is the draft capital is there, and if you fail, and that's the weird part is, people shit all over the Bears for trading up to get Justin Fields, but you really don't see that same vitriol against the 49ers for going to get Trey Lance. Everyone looks at it as like, oh, well, they're just going to get their guy. They're going to get their guy. And you don't feel that with Justin Fields. It's the Bears spent another first round pick on a quarterback. And I get it. The Bears have never really had a quarterback before, but I just really feel this is different this year.
You certainly hope. I mean, you saw the potential in some of the raw things that he did. You saw more of the potential in preseason with Luke Getsy as the coordinator, and you hope you just keep building off of that. I mean, it's going to be priority number one this season to really have Justin Fields take a big step. I mean, that's what people are watching more than anything else. And you know what? If you sit down and watch the games, and every week we see progress and positivity coming out of Justin Fields in the offense, that is what we treasure the most over anything. If they struggle to win ball games because of simply not having enough talent around him, but Justin Fields did his job, that's very different than Justin Fields looking completely incompetent or everything else just looking bad. A good Justin Fields, progression, and just fundamentally sound football is what you want to see. They're not making a lot of penalties. They're on the same page as the coaches. If you see all that, that is really a win this season. I mean, listen, you can see a 6-win team be a 6-win team because nothing goes right and you just catch a few breaks. Or you can see a 6-win team that plays hard and loses a couple of hard games just because they don't have enough talent in certain positions. It's going to be all about the context.
Right. I'm very much looking forward to this season. Is like I said, when I say I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, it is at least within the realm of realism Kool-Aid. I don't see them making
as much sugar.
Yeah, it's a diet Kool-Aid. I don't. I'm using saccharin instead of sugar. Sweet and low.
Sweet and low Kool-Aid. Boy, you want to talk about going low in life. You lose sweet and low for Kool-Aid.
but I don't see them making the playoffs. I don't see them
No.
winning the Super Bowl. I do see them being competitive, and you're going to see them lose some games. Just like obvious, it's going to be like, hey, listen, you know, this is an Achilles heel. They need help at cornerback. They need another stud wide receiver.
They need another defensive lineman.
Yeah, like you're going to watch and you're like, okay, we identified the issue. They're doing their best, to mask these things, but like these are why they're losing. It's not, oh, hey, the whole entire offensive scheme is, a steaming pile of poop, and the head coach / offensive coordinator is a dope and can't call plays. Like those are different problems. Having a complete, your defensive scheme sucks, your offensive scheme sucks, and you don't have players is a lot different than, hey, we see the positive movement. We see that this is going to work. We just need to finish filling in the gaps of players. Like that's a key difference. If you lose, man, we were a kicker away is a lot different than, Jesus Christ, we could not score double-digit points all for half the games. Like those are two different problems. And we've got a full cachet of draft picks next year and $100-some million to spend. Like we have like double the amount of money to spend as the second highest cap room team. So we have room to do things. And that's going to be where you see the big improvement. And I expect there to be a lot of close contests that we lose. And I can live with losses when you watch the game and you see that they were competitive. If you watch them lose and 90% of their drives are 3 and out, it's tough. It's a tough watch. If they're moving the ball and showing signs of life and scoring some points and they just couldn't get it in the end, it still sucks, but it's a lot different sense of sucking. It's not that sucking where you're like, I'm just numb to it and I'm writing the season off.
This is what I kind of like to see. 2015, you remember that season? The final record didn't look good, but they played some competitive football. I mean, in the middle of the season, they got to 500 or were just below 500. And then obviously the last 2 games didn't go so well, but you remember Adam Gase was the coordinator that year, and the offense with very little on paper was able to function decently. Something like that, or like 2017 when they were losing a lot of close games. Now, that season was very frustrating because it felt like there was a lot of just bad coaching decisions and just flat out poor execution that should have been a bit more sound, resulting in some losses. But it's something along those lines in those seasons where you're like, you know what, even if the overall record doesn't look good, you saw a lot of competitive games. You saw the offense function decently. That's more of a 2015 thing than a 2017. But, you get my point. You got to sit down and watch the games.
Yeah.
If you want to look at how this team does, you have to sit and watch the games.
Absolutely. And it's going to have, I'm going to be watching. It's going to be a season where come game 14, 15, 16, 17, you don't have casual fans going, why are you watching these games still? There's going to be people watching the games because they could still win those games, and it's going to be interesting. And I don't foresee, big blowouts this season. It's going to be competitive games.
Sure hope. I mean, you look at the schedule, and whenever you predict a Bears season, you always got to think, okay, one of those games that they're expected to lose, they win. Every year they pull off an upset. And then every year they have a game that they should win that they end up losing. I mean, it's like clockwork. It happens every year. So, maybe you go out and you beat one of those better teams. What if you go and upset the Bills when they come to Soldier Field?
Anything's possible.
Yeah, right now anything is. And if I just had one specific schedule wish, just beat Green Bay once.
Yes.
Just beat them once. 2015 they did. Upset them on Thanksgiving. Do that.
Preferably
We're not playing on Thanksgiving, but
preferably at Soldier Field.
Yeah, give the home team a. I mean, we have 2 wins against the Packers since 2009.
What if Justin Fields goes his whole career never losing to the Packers?
From here on out.
Yes. Like from this day forward, he never loses to the Packers ever again.
I mean, that would be a dream come true.
That would be amazing.
So basically what the opposite of what Brett Favre did against us.
Yes. Yeah. Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, like the last 30 years of football.
Yeah.
And I don't know what made me think of this, but earlier today I saw some Lions fan posting his season predictions, and he goes, I'm looking at the schedule for the Lions, and the absolute floor, the worst this team could be is 7 or 8 wins. Absolute worst. But I'm predicting that they win 13 games this year.
Is that why you're so on the Lions right now?
It just so like Viking fans are annoying, but they always know that other shoe is going to drop and they're going to have the rug pulled out from under them. They temper their annoyance because they know that their comeuppance is coming real quick, and karma's about to bitch slap them any second. So they've got that they're flinching like crazy every time they think something's bad's going to happen. Packer fans are annoying, but they're also Wisconsinites, so their annoyance is just kind of like dumb and goofy. Lions fans are just annoying with absolutely nothing to back it up, and they just they're every year at this time before the season comes and is a reality slap, they are just the biggest talkers. And they're like, why in the world do you think you're going to be good? You've never been good. You're a terrible organization. You are literally the worst organization ever.
I'll say this. I think NFL offseason is the absolute worst when it comes to just everybody trash talking. All the off seasons in any sport, I think it's by far and away the biggest in the NFL.
Well, I mean, part of it is the fact that NFL can turn a team can turn around so fast.
Exactly.
A rebuild could be 1 year.
Well, yeah, no, that's true. I mean, you look at baseball, Pirates fans aren't talking crap.
No.
Arizona Diamondbacks fans aren't talking crap.
Yeah. Hockey, Blackhawk fans aren't talking crap.
No.
We're busy crying into our beer.
And in NBA, half the teams talk crap. And those are the ones that are at least semi-competitive or good.
But yeah, football can turn around so quick from worst to first 1 year.
Happens more than any other sport.
Yeah, and it's just not going to be the Lions.
Watch them win 10 games.
The only way that it could happen is if they win the division, is if Aaron Rodgers gets injured for a bad injury, Justin Fields gets a bad injury, and Kirk Cousins gets a bad injury. If those 3 things don't happen, the Lions are not winning this division.
Right. And do I think the Lions are going to be improved this year from last year? Yes, I do, but I don't think they're ready to talk playoffs yet. They need to draft a quarterback.
Yeah, they need a quarterback, and they need a lot of talent. I think, like we keep saying, I think they're on the right path, and I think they're building this the right way. And even though their coach cried on TV, I think he's he's building a good program there. I just like
Yeah,
our program
yeah.
better.
Yeah, no, yeah. I think that Campbell knows what he wants. He's, fiery, passionate, and that's everything that their last coach wasn't. And, that was that'll help him in the future.
There's one last thing I forgot to mention that I want to talk about the Bears. And I heard a rumor, and I don't know how accurate it is, but it's the Bears could offer, the city of Chicago could offer the Bears to let them out of their contract without any sort of financial penalty if the Bears would be willing to accept that the city of Chicago would try to get a second team without fighting it. That's an interesting idea. If you do these renovations at Soldier Field and you brought in the Chicago Jaguars, that's an interesting idea. It's not like the Jags need more than 60,000 seats. They're not going to fill them. And they would put butts in the seats being in the city. AFC team. I think it's an interesting idea.
I don't want to have two teams here.
I mean, LA's got two teams. New York's got two teams. And LA's not even a football town. They got two teams.
Yeah, nobody cares about those teams.
I mean,
the fan base for the Chargers is still probably in San Diego, right?
I don't know. I'm not even sure because San Diegans are pissed.
I know they are. Yeah, they are. They are.
And I think people must care about the Chargers and the Rams because they could be the Super Bowl matchup.
I mean, they're both good teams. It's just you look at the following, it's nowhere near as big as plenty of other teams. I mean, because from what I understand, from what you hear is a lot of the football fans in Los Angeles, a lot of them are still Raiders fans. The Raiders have a big fan base.
They really do, which is weird.
Well, I mean, they had a good run a while back, and when football was at its peak with the Raiders there, it created a lot of fans.
I mean, to be fair, they also have 3 cities to draw fans from.
Right. You have Oakland, you have Los Angeles, and now Vegas.
So, I guess 4. Don't you have Mexico City?
That's true. That's true.
So, I mean, you got like 4 cities to draw fans from. I guess that works.
And the Raiders are that fan base is so unique. Like Raiders fans stand out as good as any other fan base because no other fan base paints themselves silver and black like they do.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I think it's an interesting, I'm not saying I'm for it, just saying it's an interesting idea. If you're the city and you still want that team and utilize Soldier Field is, Jacksonville is clearly trying to move to a better city. And even with another team already there, Chicago's got to still be at the top of your list.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, it's got to be better than like where else are they moving? San Antonio?
Yeah, that's one option. I don't know if you go to Portland. I think that's I don't know. You think I would imagine there is a decent number of Seahawks fans in Portland, but
I mean, they're pretty, they're like a 3-hour drive from Portland to Seattle. I would imagine they're probably all Seahawks fans.
Do you try Canada?
Maybe
Montreal or Toronto.
But Jacksonville is, they're a franchise that just desperately needs to move.
Yeah.
There's talks about Jacksonville moving to London, Memphis. Like
Memphis. That's interesting.
that,
That's interesting.
but it's like these are places that are not as good as being in Chicago, even if you're the second team there.
So does that mean we have to cover both the Bears and the Jaguars when that happens?
No, no, it doesn't.
We cover every other team, but fuck them.
Yeah, screw that team. But yeah, I mean, yeah, places they talked about is San Antonio, Toronto, San Jose, and Mexico City, Memphis, Raleigh, North Carolina, or Vancouver.
Raleigh? Where do the Panthers play?
I don't know, somewhere in North Carolina. My North Carolina geography is bad. I'm just going by a list on Bleacher Report of potential places. And they also list on there Chicago.
All right then. Yeah, don't ask me too much either about geography in Carolinas.
Yeah, so they list I mean, this is a fairly old article, pretty old, but that's places that they talked about expanding to. So yeah, Jacksonville, that they're not long for being in Jacksonville, Florida.
No, I don't think so.
Should we move on to baseball and wrap the show up?
Sure.
The Cubs stink.
Fitting. In his final at-bat against the Cubs, Albert Pujols hits a game-winning 2-run home run. But we don't have to deal with that anymore.
No. And here's the thing. Do I think it would be cool for Albert Pujols to get 700 home runs? And if I remove myself from the fact that I don't like Albert Pujols because he was mostly a lifelong Cardinal, yes, it would be cool. I just don't want to see those home runs against the Cubs.
Agreed. 100%. No argument here.
And what does he need? 5 more?
Yeah.
Was he have 30 some games left?
It's doable. I think it's doable if he plays enough.
It's doable. I think he's got to get a bunch of left at bats against lefties to do it.
Hey, sure as hell got one today.
I mean, look at his splits against righties versus lefties, and it is absolutely night and day. That guy is clobbering lefties, and I might as well go up there and put on an Albert Pujols jersey and bat against righties, and we'll get about the same results.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be nice to get, but hopefully it doesn't amount to anything besides the winning the division, and that they don't do anything in the playoffs.
Yeah, and for a long time, I didn't think the Cardinals were really a playoff team, but boy, the way they've been playing lately.
It's coupled with them being good and the Brewers just being a sad sack team.
Yeah, I know. I just this feels just the feel of this Cardinals team is giving you that, oh boy, here we go again. At least it is for me.
Yeah, I mean,
getting by the Dodgers is gonna be tough, but we've seen the Dodgers look like the best team ever and not win it all.
It's true. I mean, the good thing is that they're probably going to have to go on the road somebody, and they're not a good road team.
That's right.
Even with this good record, like they're like a 500 team on the road. They're just incredible at home.
Yeah,
which I'm going to chalk up to somebody's banging garbage cans.
You're just going to say that just for the hell of it.
I am. I'm just going to say it with no proof at all, and just to see if I can rile anybody up.
Nah.
But yeah, the Brewers are just, I mean, how it was not that long ago the Brewers were in first place and we're like, oh, Cardinals will make the wild card. And now the Brewers are 8.5 games out of first place.
Yeah, well, that having that how the hell do you function with that lineup is finally catching up with them.
Good. They need it. Get back down to earth.
Man, you are drinking the haterade tonight.
Oh, I
Boy.
really am. I really am. It's, when the Brewers fans all get over that, we're the big brother now to the Cubs. That's not a rivalry. Sorry. The Cubs are not your rival. Like, we might be your rivals. You're not our rivals. The Cardinals are our rivals. You're just Milwaukee Brewers. Like, we don't care about you. It's the same as Blackhawks with Nashville. Like, you're not our rivals. Like, you may be better now, but you're not our rivals. So sorry, Brewers. You got your day in the sun for 15 minutes, but now it's back down to earth and you're terrible and you're going to go through a rebuild. Haterade.
Are you done?
In a glass bottle.
Perfect.
But
when it comes to the Cubs, the prospects look good. Nick Madrigal is hitting. Seiya Suzuki's been hitting decently. Marcus Stroman looks good. That's all I could really muster at this point. Nico Horner still looks solid. Ian Happ still looks good. Contreras was clearly been hurt, and he's day to day now. He probably should have been day to day a little while ago, but yeah, I mean, so much of this team is not going to be a factor going forward, and it's just at this point, it's like, all right, can we just get through these last few weeks?
It's funny because the construction of the lineup was so home run heavy with way too many strikeouts just, a couple of years ago. And you're like, man, you can't construct this lineup with so many home runs or nothing guys. And there's so many days where, 90% of our runs are off home run. That's not sustainable. You can't carry that into the playoffs. And we're like, we need more contact hitters. They shift the whole mentality. We've got so many contact hitters. Like, we need some power hitters. And I think, Jed needs to come to this realization that there's got to be a balance. You've got to have some power hitters that might strike out a bunch, but you've also got to have those contact hitters. You have to have that variety in your lineup to be able to have sustained winning. And I think Jed is smart. So I would expect in the off season, we, try to have some power hitters in the lineup.
Yeah, they need power. And, Franmil Reyes has hit a few home runs. And the thing is that he's been hitting singles and doubles. He's hit a few home runs, but, I can't knock his hitting because he's really done a nice job here. But I expected more of the power variety. And it's like, okay, hitting singles, I'm not going to bash you too much on that. But, even he's not hitting a ton of home runs. Got a few, but not a ton. And, Contreras has hit a few home runs. He had a few in Baltimore. He hit one in Toronto. But, he's probably your number one home run guy that you rely on. And there's not a lot else there. Ian Happ has been hitting very, very well, but his adjustments have allowed him to hit more singles, doubles, and he's not hitting as many home runs as he did when he was batting like 250. When he was batting 240, 250, he was hitting 25 home runs. His power's gone down. His other hitting's going up. So, yeah, you don't have a lot of power here. And you hope that Seiya Suzuki is able to kind of up that power ante next year as you go forward. But you're just going to need to acquire some power. And hopefully some of that comes from the farm system. And boy, have you seen Matt Mervis?
Yeah.
Holy crap. Does that guy hit the shit out of those balls?
Yeah. He's on a nice little run there. Looking at the Cubs roster though, is you're not going to have a 30 home run guy this year.
No, I mean, your number one candidate for that job is Patrick Wisdom, and he's been hurt.
He's been hurt, but he's still your leader at 22 home runs. He's
Right.
not going to get to 30. Wilson Contreras is 21. He's not going to get there. Ian Happ might not even hit 20 home runs. And he's your number 3 home run guy. You don't like, you take away is Wisdom and Contreras might be gone next year. But like this is what you have in as far as your home run leaders. Ian Happ, 15. Christopher Morel, 13. Seiya Suzuki, 10. Nico Horner, 8. Frank Schwindel, 8. Rafael Ortega, 6. Jan Gomes, 6. PJ Higgins, 6. Like, it just goes down from there. Like, there's just no power in this lineup. And I think you need at least 2 bopper bats in this lineup.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if Matt Mervis translates his power to the big leagues, that would be huge, especially from the left side. That would be big, but you're going to need to go out. If you land a big fish like a Xander Bogaerts or a Trey Turner, that gives you not only power, but just overall offensive production. You need to add, I don't want to put a hard number, but you would like to add another 30 plus home run potential guy, or at least a 25 plus home run potential guy, and a little more than that. So you need to hit for power in this day and age.
Is Matt Mervis the first baseman on opening day?
Well, he will get a chance to prove himself in spring training. I mean, they're going to take a good look at him in spring training, I believe. I mean, that position of first base is so wide open. The future, you don't have an Anthony Rizzo anchor where he's the guy. He's the first baseman for the future. That's what they had in the last rebuild. That's one thing we don't have in this one. I mean, who else? Bryce Ball? Bryce Ball's been playing pretty solid this year, but Matt Mervis is on a whole other level right now.
Yeah. Matt Mervis is having a real nice season.
Yes,
real
he
nice
is.
season.
30 home runs.
30 home runs, 106 RBIs.
And he destroys the ball.
989 OPS.
Yep.
Like, I can't be mad at that. I can't be mad at that at all.
Him and Canario both have 30 plus home runs in the Cubs system. It's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty good. I just. Woof.
The only thing left to watch this season is if maybe some of those pitching prospects come up. If like a Wisniewski comes up, that'll be something to watch. But, you got to figure too, Justin Steele is probably going to be winding down fairly soon.
Yeah.
Give him a few more starts, and that's probably going to be it.
Yeah.
Kyle Hendricks is done. Keegan Thompson's probably done for the year. Wade Miley's coming back. I mean, not that it really does anything.
He's pitching Tuesday?
Yeah, Tuesday against the Reds.
I
like Wade Miley, but it's like he's been hurt most of the year, and it's September. It's not like he's playing for a trade chip value.
No, he's pitching for his next contract.
I mean, at this rate, he's really just pitching to fill in a spot. And yeah, I mean, it's too bad because I really liked that pickup. He was a great pitcher last year for the Reds, and it's just a shame that he was hurt.
It's a shame for multiple reasons. It'd have been nice to flip him at the deadline to get some more prospects, but is what it is.
Yep.
But the Cubs have just been a tough watch here lately. It's more watching highlights online of the prospects and watching what's happening in the minors.
The nice thing is there's something happening in the minors every day.
I know, between Mervis and Pete Crow Armstrong and,
shout out to my buddy John. He saw him the other day.
Yeah, Canario and Like you're just watching some awesome minor league players.
And look at Brendan Davis. He's back and he's hitting in the minors.
Yep. And I can't wait for the next prospect ranking, because you're going to see some cool shifts in the Cubs minor league rankings and within their own organization and within all of baseball. I think you're going to see a bunch of Cubs shoot up the board.
Yeah, I mean, Luis Devers is a pitcher you got to look out for. He just made it on MLB Pipeline's top 30 for the Cubs, and he has been pitching great this year. So that's another one to keep an eye out for. And we're going to see our draft picks from this year. We're going to see them get into some real action next year. That's going to be very exciting. They're already ranked as some of the Cubs, like Cade Horton. He's already on that list. I think it's going to be really fun seeing some of these pitchers develop next year, because you're hoping that the more ready wave of pitching prospects is going to be establishing themselves in the majors next year at some point. By the end of 2023, you'd have liked to have seen Wisniewski come up, Jordan Wicks come up, Caleb Killian kind of establish himself. Those are big goals to have for next year.
Yeah, I just want to throw this out there so we're talking how excited we are about what Matt Mervis is doing. He's the 21st ranked prospect for the Cubs.
He was a no-name coming in.
Yep.
Look how he is just rising. He wasn't ranked at all not too long ago.
And it's funny, you start looking down the list and guys that we were pretty excited about are just dropping down, and it's more because guys are rising up. Ed Howard, Chase Strumpf, we're Ryan Jensen, like those are guys that we were kind of excited about. Miguel Amaya that have dropped down, but is really you seeing guys rise up. Kevin Alcantara, Picro Armstrong, and Jordan Wicks.
Yeah, and unfortunately, some of those drops have been unfortunate injuries, like Amaya and Howard.
That's true. True.
But here's to the future, right?
Yeah, here's to the future. On the other side of town, man, first let's deal with was the Tony La Russa situation a masking them, letting him walk away, or is he really sick?
I don't know. I don't want to speculate too much. I mean, here's the thing. If there's any sort of medical concern with a guy like Tony La Russa, who's 77 years old, it's magnified by 1,000. You got to take it more seriously. And I think more than anything, you hope that Tony La Russa is okay. I know that, a lot of Sox fans don't like him as a manager, which we all understand why, but, he is a human and we want him to be okay physically and, health wise. So, I mean, honestly, that thought probably came to all our minds. Is this really a sickness? Is it the White Sox way of weeding things out? I can't say 100% for sure, but I feel like there is something obviously going on there, but the way they've handled it is very, very odd. The players finding out like on Twitter and social media and not really hearing from Rick Hahn from what's going on. It was handled very, very strange, I thought.
I think nightmare scenario for White Sox fans is Tony La Russa steps away. The White Sox go on a run, make the playoffs. Tony La Russa comes back, and then they bomb out of the playoffs.
Yeah, obviously. I mean, this team plays with their fans' emotions, man. A week ago right now, the eulogies were being written. The wake was being planned. The funeral was being planned. People were out. It looked over. And then with a matter of a few days, The complete outlook changed. And when Miguel Cairo took over, you saw a club play with seemingly a bit more energy. They were hitting home runs, something that they have not done virtually all year. You won the last 2 games against the Royals. Okay, the Royals, they suck, whatever. But then you take 2 or 3 from the Twins. And Dylan Cease comes within 1 out of a no-hitter. Which, look, regardless of the outcome of that, he pitched one hell of a ball game and you won 13-0. A team that had struggled to score runs. All of a sudden you win 4 in a row, and all of a sudden you're right back in to grasp the division. Are they for real or not? I still think they're going to win that division. I really do. And it's a testament to them getting hot at the right time and the division just not being very good. You could say both are true. You could say the Sox are going on a run and playing more like they should be, as well as acknowledging that they're in a position to be right there because this division blows. I mean, like, you could say both of that, right?
Yes, I think you can.
Because it's hard to dig that deep of a hole for 5 months and still be right there, but you have a chance to redeem yourself and bring in positive momentum going to the postseason. I still think the Sox are going to win this division. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen. They still have to take care of business, but being 2 games back is sure of a hell lot bigger difference than being 6 games back.
It's 2.5.
Yeah, depending on what Cleveland does, they'll either be 3 out or 2 out.
Yeah, then Cleveland, as we're recording this, is in extra innings against Seattle. But even
if you do go 3 back, that's half of your deficit than you were before.
But I mean, if Cleveland loses this game, that the way it is I almost call them the old name. The Guardians and the Twins are tied for first, and the White Sox are 2 games back. They're within striking distance. You're right. They are playing with some more passion, more energy, and I think that start by Dylan Cease, it was huge. I hope they can keep that up. It's just they got to go out and do it, and it's easier said than done. We've talked about it so many times. It seems like one week we come on the show and we're like, I think they can do it. They're close, and then the next week we're like, oh my God, they lost 5 games this week, and now they're a bunch of games out. They're dead in the water, and it's such a
up and
herky,
down, and down,
herky jerky movement, and you're like, this is not sustainable for this team. They need to go on a run at some point. They just
it's like the kid on the wall with the crayon, and they're drawing on the wall. It's just a squiggle up and down, up and down.
Right. And what was neat that you would never have seen with Tony La Russa is the other day they did an opener.
Mm-hmm. Joe Kelly.
They had Joe Kelly, and it's funny is, I think they expected Martin to come in with a clean slate in the second inning, and nope, Joe Kelly came out there and was like, "Nah, let's start this game with a deficit."
Yeah, I mean, luckily for him, they rallied and won late. But yeah, it's the opener. It wasn't pretty.
No, but you would have never seen an opener with Tony La Russa.
No. I want my starters to get the win.
My starters got to go. But yeah, it's an interesting season. I'll give you that much. And it has been filled with high highs and low lows, and
you ain't kidding.
I don't have huge hopes of them competing in the postseason if they make it, but honestly, they've got guys that can. I mean, Dylan Cease is as good as anybody in as starting pitcher. If you can make the playoffs and you can line up where he starts that first game, and you can pitch him as many times as you can get him in there, it gives you some sort of hope.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you tweeted something that is, it's easier said than done, but you're absolutely right. It's Cubs fans just got to eat that loss. And I'm not even mad about the, the first part of the trade of losing Eloy. The Dylan Cease kicker is what hurts, but Cubs fans got to take that loss and move on and live in the present. And honestly, I'm right there with you. The only past I want to live in is giving shit to Matt Nagy. I was talking, somebody I follow on Twitter was saying, he's like, we all just got to move forward and just stop talking about Matt Nagy. He's not the coach anymore. He's not a coach. He's an assistant coach somewhere else. Just leave it be. And I was like, no, I'm still on that petty train.
All aboard the petty train. We only serve haterade here.
I'm like, I have so many cases of haterade in my garage that's going to go bad. I got to drink, and I'm going to drink it.
Starts leaking on the floor.
I'm going to go in there and sponge it up and squeeze it out into another glass bottle.
That is so disgusting.
You can't just lose perfectly good haterade.
Precious haterade.
That's my precious. I've still got a lot of haterade for Matt Nagy and until Justin Fields has hit peak Justin Fields, and even a little bit after that, I'm just still gonna take every pot shot I can against Matt Nagy. But I'm going to move forward about the Dylan Cease thing. It's over, it's done, is what it is, and you know what? We've got a cool farm system going on, and Dylan Cease is doing his thing, and I'm happy for him.
Yep. Good for him. He's a hell of a pitcher.
Even with his bad poetry.
Yeah, we can accept that.
Did you ever hear his poetry?
I did.
Yeah, it is brutal. It's as brutal as the hindsight on that trade.
Brutal.
Oh, but here's to hoping that the White Sox are able to keep things up and keep winning baseball games, because they do have an opening here for
the opportunities there.
Opportunity is there. The baseball gods have said, listen, as many injuries as you've had and as sucky as you've played and as many bad managerial decisions as you have, and as bad as Lurie Garcia has been, and for as many as bats as he got for being as bad as he is, you are still right in the hunt.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are.
And if you ever want to feel sick to your stomach, look at the White Sox record with Lurie Garcia versus without.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
It is absolutely ridiculous.
Woof.
Yeah, absolute woof. And it is looking like the Guardians are going to win this game.
Bases loaded. I just checked right now. Bases loaded, 2 outs. So another 1 out. The Mariners are 1 out away from forcing the 11th, and that game started at like 12 their time, and they had like a 4-hour rain delay, and they're still playing, and it's 9:37 our time.
Oh my God. I love baseball, but if there's a certain time that I'm just like, nope, I don't love baseball this much. I want to go home.
Yeah, that is a long day at the ball yard.
Yeah. Like, it's one thing if there's a rain delay and it's like otherwise like a nice temperature, and you can totally see that the rain is going to break, and you just sit in the concourse for a little bit. You're like, okay, I can deal. But 4 hours, I'm going home. Sorry. I'm going to miss that game.
Yep.
I'll catch the highlights on TV.
Yep.
Was there anything else you want to talk about?
Nope, I think I've said my piece.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Bill's Swerski Sports Talk Chicago. I want to thank everybody so much for listening. Please hit subscribe however you listen to podcasts, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Google Play, Spotify, etc. Share this podcast with your friends. It's how we grow the show. Follow us on social media at Swerski Sports, Facebook.com/Swerski Sports, SwerskiSports.com, or ShyFanPat2 for Alex on Twitter, or Alexander J. Pat Creative for all the cool stuff that Alex does. And again, thank you guys so much for listening. Until next time, bear down.
Cubs win! What a lucky break! The good Lord wants the Cubs to win!
We thank Ditka and God for all they have provided.
Cubs win! Cubs win! Cubs win!
Oh, I don't want her. You can have her. She's a Packer fan. She can't fit in my van.
And she looks like
Remember, New Yorkers, smoking crack is not legal on planes. Bears 31 to -7.
the Bears. Oh, when the Bears go bearing down